In the previous video, I discussed that one way to become a better educator in higher education is to simply reflect on your learning and your teaching. I built this on the work of Donald Schoen, who emphasized that professionalism includes both reflection in action and reflection on action. What I want to ask now is whether this reflective practice needs to be understood as an individual commitment or something that you do in a group. So, one of Schoen's fundamental ideas is that we are often forced to reflect on actions and situations that are difficult to summarize in words. I think that many of us have found ourselves in such situations where we did not really understand what was happening or what we did ourselves that was problematic or successful. So in such situations, a collegial conversation is not only useful, but potentially also necessary to move you forward in your developmental process. This is one reason why, when I meet employees at universities, I highlight the need to develop such collegial arenas where educational conversations can take place. So, as I often mention, the problem for higher education is not that we have bad educators. A much bigger problem is that the educators are given few opportunities where they can talk about their teaching and listen to others talk about theirs. Let me give you a concrete example of why this is important. As part of my work, I train educators at Malmö University, in particular, on how to teach about controversial issues. As research shows, educators state that they have received very little or no training at all in how to teach controversial issues. Therefore, there is a need to get support in their work from someone like me. But a better solution, I always argue, would actually be if different teams discussed their experience of teaching about controversial issues together. My experience is that the educators have a lot of practical knowledge about what works and what doesn't, as well as ideas about how to think when teaching about a certain controversial topic. If we could get to a situation where they share their experiences as colleagues, there would be less need to ask someone like me for help, because they themselves will be able to contribute to the knowledge and experience, that contributes to collective knowledge and skills. So together, they would be able to teach each other. So one answer to the question of how to become a better educator is basically just to talk about your teaching together with other educators. Just as we will offer you the opportunity to individually reflect on your teaching practices during the master's program in teaching and learning higher education, we will therefore also offer you the opportunity to take part in the experiences of others within the program. Research also clearly shows that conversations about one's teaching experiences and practices are one of the main ways in which one can develop as an educator. I therefore recommend that you I highly recommend that you prioritize participating in our joint meetings so that you can develop in conversations with your colleagues within the program. So this brings me to what is usually described as a community of practice. Community of practice was a concept introduced by Jean Labbe and Etienne Wenger in the 1990s. What they looked at in their research was how to learn in how you learn in practical context. So imagine an apprentice learning on the job. Their work laid the foundation for theories that highlighted how functioning teams are made up of a community of professionals who share a common interest or passion for a field. In such environments, it is not primarily through the participants attending courses that you learn how to develop in your professional role. The collective instead takes a more informal form where you collectively contribute to each other's learning processes. In other words, it is a community in which knowledge is obtained above all by participating in a common practice. While I would like to think that we are able to create a community practice in the master's programs for teaching and learning higher education, I do not believe that it was primarily such communities that come together through a teaching program that Lav and Wenger had in mind when they discussed community practice. We will mainly be able to work with imparting knowledge within this program and have quite few opportunities to create such practice-based environments that contribute to the kind of learning that they are proposing. As you can see, our community will take, we will be camaraderie, but we will be friendly to each other, of course, but we'll also be quite formal in our setting. So if you are part of a teaching community, I therefore recommend that you work to create an engaged community of practice where you work. Anyway, so to speak, talk to your colleagues about what it is, what your common interests and passions are, in order for all you to be able to develop together. What I also hope is that you take what you learn within the program with you and share your knowledge with your colleagues. Although in the master's programs in teaching and learning higher education, we cannot measure up to the knowledge gained by being part of a dynamic community of practice, we will make a valuable contribution to your knowledge and provide the necessary insights that are worth sharing among your colleagues. So don't let what you learn stay within Canvas or in these Zoom digital walls. Instead, boldly share your knowledge. And one last point before we go to the next video. An important way we share our knowledge is to write about it. As Boyer emphasizes in his book Scholarship Reconsidered, scholarship also includes the scholarship of teaching and learning, which means that an important part of academic activity should, according to Boyer, be to analytically examine one's own and other teaching experiences and thus subject them to critical examination. Thus, by writing about your and others' learning and teaching, you can contribute to the collective knowledge of teaching and learning in higher education. If you are interested in contributing to the collective in this way, I hope that during the course of the program, you also think about how you can spread your scholarship of teaching and learning. In the next video, I will briefly address another aspect of how to become a better educator by making it research-based. See you there.